So this quick video is going to tell you the difference between the solo game and the multiplayer game as far as gameplay goes. So at the beginning of a round, at the beginning of every odd round, you, the player, will go first. So you will draft first, then the Automa will draft twice, and then you will draft last, and the last dice will go on the round track. On every even turn, the Automa will go, then you will go twice, and then the Automa will finish, just like you would in a regular game. So what I like to do is take 5 dice out of the bag, shuffle them up at the beginning of each round, and then we're going to use the round track to actually place the dice in the 1 through 5 slots. We're going to use this top part above here to keep track of the rounds. Additionally, there's 10 cards, so if you ever lose track of what round it is, you can count the number of solo cards you've used. So we're actually going to use this track to put the dice into the 1 through 5 slots because the Automa cards are going to play off that. So let's go through a round as an example. So it's the first round. I'm the player. I go first. So let's say I seeded the boards so we can see some examples here in a second. Let's say I pick this blue 2 and put it here on my board. It is now the Automa's turn, so we're going to flip over a card. And an Automa card is going to show you what dice they want and then any special text that might apply. So in this case, this card is they just want dice this turn. So it's going to pick the dice in slot 3. So that's why we're using the round tracks 1 through 5 to put the dice down. So it wants this green dice, so it's just simply going to take it and put it on its board. It goes again because it's an odd round. So then it wants slot 4. It's going to take this yellow and put it on its yellow track. It doesn't matter the number. All you're going to do is you're going to match the different colored dice and you're going to put them on the board. Let's say, for instance, it looked like this. So it had already taken its first die and it says, I want dice number 4. You look at dice number 4. There's nothing there, so then you move on to the next thing that it wants. Now it wants dice number 5. So there's a dice there, so you take it and you place it right there. And then it would be my turn as usual. Let's say I grab this one, put it here, and the last dice, just like in a multiplayer game, is going to be used to mark the round as well as some other things that you're going to see that the Automa plays into. So instead of leaving it on the round tracker, I'm just going to move it up here. So I know there's been one round. Additionally, this card now goes in the Automa discard pile, so I know that there's been one round. Okay? So then you would move on to the next turn. You don't flip this until you put the 5 dice down. So it's an even round. The Automa is going to go first. I'm going to take 5 dice out of the bag, roll them, and just randomly place them on here. It doesn't really matter because you don't know what the Automa wants. Now the Automa goes first, so I'm going to flip over this card. It wants Automa card, dice 2. So we'll look here. It wants number 2, so it's going to take the 3 red and just put it right there. It is additionally, it has this little quick summary down here. All this is saying is place a favor token on tool card number 3. So for tool cards, it's 1, 2, and 3. Just take one and put it on tool card number 3. Let's say I had already used it, or the Automa had already used this in a round, and there was already one on there, or multiple ones on there, just like in the multiplayer game. Whenever there's a bead on there, it would take 2, so the Automa would actually put 2 on there. If the Automa only has 1, and it tells you to put it on 3, and there's already one there, there's already some there, and it would require 2, you just leave this on the board and ignore this because it can't legally use that tool card. It's not going to do what the tool card says. It's just going to place the beads onto the cards. So in this instance, it took dice number 2. Now it's my turn, and I know that it wants dice number 5 next. So I could take that to mess with him. And in fact, I'm going to. So I'm going to take the 4. I know that's not legal because the 4 is next to a 4, but I just want to put it on my board real quick. And then I would take another one. Let's take the purple 3. I know, once again, I know that's not legal. So then it goes back to the Automa's turn, and so the 2 is gone, the 5 is gone, and now it's going to go to the 1. So for its last pick, it's going, since there's a dice there, it's going to select this dice, and it's going to attempt to put it on its board. It cannot, because there's no more spaces for purple. So it's not going to take that. It's going to look at any dice above it where the round track is, and let's say this was here. So it went to take number 1. It can't because purple's all filled, so it's going to try to substitute it with whatever's dice is here. So if there was 1 dice here, it would take 1, 2, it could choose between 1 of the 2. So in this instance, it's going to take this red one instead, and it's going to put it on its board, and this purple one's going to move up to take its spot. Let's say this said to take number 1. There's a dice there, so it would try to take it, but it can't because purple is filled up. So it would look above it to see if it could swap out with any of the ones above it. Once again, this is purple, so it can't legally take that. So the Automa would actually forfeit its dice taking that turn. That kind of simulates how we get, and it usually happens later in the games with the Automa, how just like we do, it gets stuck sometimes and it can't take any dice. If it can't take any dice, let's say this is round 2, any dice remaining go above that round. So this is how there could be multiple dice. On the next turn, let's say it went to, let's say there was 5 here, purple there, and purple there, and the card said to take number 2, it would try to take the purple one, but it, well, bad example. Let's do it like that. It would try to take the purple one, but it can't because purple's all been filled up now. And so it would look above it to say, hey, can I use any of the dice above it? So then yes, it could take the red, put it on its board, and then slide this one up. So you have 3 types of cards in the Automa deck. You have dice cards with no graphic below it. You have dice cards with graphics saying where to put favor tokens. And lastly, you have this 1 card in the 17 card deck that says the Automa immediately drafts their second die. And if it's an odd round where the player goes first and then the Automa goes back to back like it would in a normal game, then this takes no effect because it's doing that anyway. But if it's an even round where the Automa is going first, it would take 1 and then it would take another one before you get to choose any of them. It would only choose 2 dice in that particular round, just like in a normal multiplayer game. It would draft them back to back. And I know there's a tool card. I don't know the name of the tool card, but there's a tool card that does that too. So that kind of replicates that a little bit. So that is gameplay. You're going to go all 10 rounds. On odd rounds, you go first, and then you draw the Automa card. On even rounds, you draw the Automa card first, and then you do what it says, and then you make your decisions, and then the Automa goes again. That's pretty much it. Those are the only 3 types of cards in the Automa deck.